Hi everybody, welcome back. Say hi, Batman. This is Batman. Saying hi. Um, Today we're gonna be actually reacting to something a little bit more important. Actually, I just realized my camera's not on. Let me fix that real quick before anything else. Give me 2 seconds. Silly billy sometimes, and I forget to do things. Simple. I was actually having a hard time setting up the stream today. I'm trying to do a multi-stream today. For the first time, we're trying to do uh Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Should be interesting. I don't know if my computer can take streaming to both places, but it should be fun. We'll see how it goes from there. Let me see if I can get this webcam working. Give me 2 seconds, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Uh, activate, activating the webcam. 3, 2, 1. Hopefully, and there we go. Awesome. Hello, everyone. I know you guys love seeing my face. And I actually get to see him. So and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a new underlay here. With all our social media. Interesting enough, you can find all my social media, with the same exact name. Except for Twitter. I guess I can put Twitter there. Eventually. But yeah, my Twitter is a little different. Actually, it might be the same. Who knows? Anyway, but like I was saying, we're actually doing. We're looking into the military. Not the military. Military should be the next stream. The prison industrial complex. Um, so the way this topic actually came to my mind, I was talking to my girlfriend about how slavery is still kind of legal, and well, not kind of, straight up legal in America. And she actually was didn't know much about it. She didn't know that it's legal to enslave somebody as punishment for a crime in America, and a lot of a lot of big a lot of companies in America take advantage of that. Um, and they employ a lot of well, not employ, they use the labor out of a lot of our prisoners, um, which is very interesting. Um, I believe there is 10 million people in prison in the whole world, and America has about 2.5 million. Thus, about 25% of the world's incarcerated population lives in America. So that's a very disturbing fact. But yeah, okay, let's get going. I found this video early today. I pre-watched a little bit of it to see if there was something interesting, and actually, I like the way the guy explains all the stuff. And then I have other videos I want to watch. So yeah, let's just get to it.
Inflation is something.
Oh, give me a second. I forgot to do over my fucking headphones. Let's try this again. Oh, where's my headphones? There it is. Okay.
That we more or less take for granted these
Okay.
days. The idea that $5
Give me a second.
inflation is something that we more or less take for granted these days. The idea that $5 today is not going to be able to buy $5 worth of stuff in the future, and the fact that you used to be able to buy a family home for $10,000 are all the
Wait, is that true? Could you buy a full family house for $10,000? That's insane, dude. I mean, was it as easy to get $10,000? Probably not. I would have to assume. But I mean, even taking that into account, it's very disturbing fact. Inflation is definitely a hell of a thing.
result of inflation. The idea that over time money becomes worth less and less influences a lot of the decisions in our lives. Everything from retirement planning to salary negotiations.
Is anybody actually planning for retirement? Like younger people? Talking about like in early 20s. Cause I know fuck I'm not planning for retirement. Which is probably a dumb thing of me to do, right? Um, but yeah, I'm definitely not doing that. I should probably do that. I mean, but it's kind of very sad to plan for retirement. Not because it's sad planning about the future, but mainly because it's you come across a lot of facts that are really frustrating. But yeah,
Take this relatively benign and constant force into account. But is it something that should be feared? Hyperinflation is where this slow but steady force explodes and renders money all but useless. You have no doubt seen images of people in Zimbabwe, Venezuela, or the Vine.
Yep, this is the wrong video. I just realized this. I must have clicked. Oh. Why did I added the complete wrong video to this? Oh, fucking thing. Give me 2 seconds. Actually, we can probably watch this one by Vice for now. This is
not here. He's dead.
That was
He doesn't have.
that was a video on hyperinflation. That's not the video I wanted to watch. I wanted to learn about the military. I mean, the prison industrial complex. But
My fucking life.
In 2011, a judge in Pennsylvania was put on trial.
We turn now to the latest news in the so-called Kids for Cash scandal in Pennsylvania, in which judges took money in exchange for sending thousands of juvenile offenders to for-profit youth jails.
Judge Ciavarella was charged with taking millions of dollars in kickbacks.
I mean, I thought it was bad. I thought I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was this bad. This is like slavery plus child labor. That's fucking insane.
For sending children away for crimes as minor as mocking a teacher online.
He said, well, I'm coming down to arrest her for making a MySpace page about her vice principal.
The scandal was one of many plaguing an industry that has often sought profit over justice.
Many who served in private prisons say officials had incentives to keep prisoners there rather than rehabilitating them.
Today, the U.S.
I mean, yeah, that's insane. I mean, the prison system's already, I mean, at least in America, it's already like made not to have rehabilitation as its main focus, right? Like let alone private prisons, just regular prison. The objective of it is rarely rehabilitation. But even like then, like this is more insane than I thought it would be. That's crazy. I mean, and it's just it's the craziest part is like there's other countries that have different kinds of punishment systems for crimes, and they're doing pretty well with them. And I don't know what the reason is why America refuses to look at other countries and look for good ideas. I don't know if it's this mentality that America is the greatest country in the world and the over exaggerated nationalist ideas that they have. But yeah, I mean, other countries seem to be doing better in certain areas, and it's okay to look at those countries for ideas and stuff like that. But since like even, I mean, clearly it's the profit that it's motivating all this stuff, which is crazy because I mean, which is understandable during it's understandable under a capitalistic society because that's the end all be all, the profit incentive. Which is insane that you're taking people's like legit freedoms away, like physical freedom away, and just for profit incentive, which is insane.
Prisons more people, both per capita and in terms of number of people incarcerated, than any other country in the world.
African Americans are being incarcerated at nearly 5 times the rate of white Americans.
We have more African Americans in this country under criminal supervision right now than all of the slaves in 1850.
In a step to...
Is that true? Is that a true fact? Because I mean, if that's true, then right now there's more African American slaves than there was when slavery was like completely legal. Completely legal. I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's crazy.
To address racial inequity, President Biden signed an executive order in 2021 banning all private prison contracts by the federal government.
This is the first step to stop corporations from profiting off of incarceration.
But companies have found ways to continue profiting off the multi-billion-dollar industry.
As the Trump administration continues to crack down on undocumented immigrants, the majority of them will be sent to detention facilities run by private companies.
This industry has started to shift into what I like to call mass incarceration 2.0.
In Los Angeles County, for example, in the last 6 years has increased the use of electronic monitors by 5,000%.
I don't really like that I have cameras in my house. I don't like being recorded.
So will the private prison ban lead to a fairer justice system?
I am outside my food zone. I was in bed and you just woke me up.
Or has it provoked something altogether more sinister?
That's crazy.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one in the United States, the problem of dangerous drugs.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely that's our boy. Yeah, I mean the demonization of drugs, so it's definitely a great factor in this whole thing. The amount of people that are incarcerated over non-violent offenses is insane. It definitely started with this Thomas Nixon like and his wife demonizing the use of drugs, like implying that the only people who use drugs are criminals. Um, it took a lot away from less privileged communities, especially the African American and Latino communities in the inner cities. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the demonization of drug use, it's the wrong energy to have towards drugs, or at least the fact that it's super the extent to in which it's illegal to use drugs. It's insane. I personally believe, uh, if anything to do with drugs should be illegal, should be the the trafficking and selling of drugs, the use and possession of personal use drugs should not be criminally illegal. Um, of course, still like the driving or operating machinery under any type of drug should be illegal, but it's completely human to want to experience drugs. But also, once a habit or an addiction is formed, it is not. You do not have a choice anymore whether you want to do drugs or not. If that makes sense. So sending somebody to prison for something that is not strictly uh, under their control, it's illegal in many other situations. But for some reason, especially older generations tend to demonize drugs a bit too much, in my opinion. And it all started with Nixon and his wife.
In the 80s and 90s, the war on drugs and harsh sentencing policies meant the US prison population skyrocketed.
Last year alone, over 10,000 drug criminals were convicted.
Overcrowding in this 10-year-old.
Oh yeah, but what entails a drug criminal? A drug user would have been considered a drug criminal. A drug seller would be considered a drug criminal, and a drug trafficker would also have been considered that. So putting in jail 10,000 of drug criminals, a lot of those people should not have been in prison. Mainly the drug users, but maybe to some extent also the drug sellers. But that's a different conversation.
Prison is already a problem. 2 to a cell designed for 1.
Private firms stepped in, offering to build more facilities and faster.
I think we'll see the private sector saving the taxpayers a tremendous amount of money.
But it wasn't long before they had problems.
New questions are being raised tonight about the wisdom of turning public prisons over to private operators.
It became apparent that, in many cases, profits were prioritized over the care of those housed inside.
I mean, I know we're talking about prison systems, and that's what we're talking about right now. But that's everything under a capitalistic society. You know, everything is less important than the profit incentive. Profits are above all. Profits are above employees' comfort. Profits are above uh, employees' health. Profits are above um, routines and protocol being followed. Uh, And that's the gist of capitalistic society. I mean, that's what it entails, and it sucks. And it's especially if you give a a company like in here with privatized prisons free labor, that is the most capitalistic thing to do.
Private prisons raise a lot of the same issues that are raised in publicly run facilities. However, these issues are often exacerbated. In many cases, their officers are wildly underpaid and not paid benefits.
To save on costs, private companies usually offer fewer staff incentives and can struggle to retain employees. On the day of this 2018 riot in New Mexico, staff numbers were under 50%.
With keys to the entire 40-man cell block and no guards, the inmates take control.
There are only two ways to make money. One is to increase your revenues, and one is to decrease your expenses. And in the case of
Again, I know we're talking about prisons, but that's the case for any business under a capitalistic society. How many times have your hours been cut? The reason that is because they're not making their sales margins. Therefore, instead of trying to make more money, they're trying to decrease the amount of money they're spending on you as an employee. But again, like they're saying, in the prison, those are greatly worse.
private prisons, increasing revenues means more bodies behind.
Yeah, but like I said, like all the issues they're pointing out, they apply to every industry in America. Maybe not to the same degree, but they apply to everything under capitalism.
Bars, and decreasing expenses means lower care and quality care for those people who are in your custody.
When Joe Biden became president in 2020, many prison reform advocates were hopeful.
The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer.
Biden promised criminal justice reform, and his directive 6 days in seemed a step in the right direction.
He says he's pulling America out of the private prison business. It's a break with what the Trump administration had done.
However, for decades, the private prison industry has been finding other ways to fill empty beds.
After just a short time of the complex sitting vacant, it has a new tenant, Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
What is happening is that these private prison industries are turning around and filling these same beds with people in immigration detention.
¡Abre la puerta! Bro, it's fucking insane.
1980s, 1990s. You saw the war on drugs. Now we're changing the laws as it pertains to marijuana. We're now seeing these prisons being filled by immigrants.
80% of undocumented immigrants are being held inside privately run facilities, generating over $1 billion for the two largest prison companies in 2020.
Are these run the same way that
a lot of the same issues that are raised in publicly?
Shut up. Are they run the same way as prisons with like actual prisoners or people that have been sentenced to prison are run? Like do the government, does the government give them money to take care of the detained immigrants?
Immigrant detention beds by over 50% in 4 years. And what we saw was the administration handed out sweetheart deals to private prison companies.
There's an incredible, I would say, financial incentive not to reduce incarceration, but to change the population.
And changing the population hasn't changed the problems, which range from abuse of solitary to medical neglect. Women in this privately run Georgia detention center accused the gynecologist of carrying out surgeries on them without their consent. The facility was then closed under Biden.
At what point did you realize that you had had surgery?
When I woke up and I saw the incisions, it turns out that I didn't need the procedure that was performed.
Wait, so they're saying people in there need medical procedures and asking the government for the money for the procedures and then just forcefully giving people procedures that they don't actually need? It's fucking crazy. I mean, but it's like who these people don't have any representation when it comes to like government officials. Like, I mean, I guess technically the Democratic Party would be more on their side, right? But even then, like, not really. These people that are could just come in here to look for a job and better opportunities for their families are being kicked out, and when their role is extremely important in American society, the labor force that they provide, it's very important to upkeeping the American way of life, especially if you want to keep this capitalistic society running. It's what drives the American cock machine. Especially you see it now when they're kicking out all these people, and there's labor. They keep saying there's a labor shortage. I mean, of course, you're kicking out all these people, and the roles they're leaving behind, they're not being filled by American citizens or residents. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just again another symptom of capitalism and living under a capitalistic society.
The tragedies that we see, particularly in facilities that are run by private prison companies, means death. It means unnecessary sickness and illness.
Their inactions are responsible for Carlos's death.
What these private prison companies have in mind, of course, are their bottom line, and the abuses and the heartbreaks and the tragedies that we see are the unfortunate result of that.
Expanding immigration services is a new source of income for private companies, but there are others too.
Many of the for-profit firms that manage prisons and detention centers have also diversified.
The reality is that private interests have permeated our correctional carceral system across the country.
From food and phone calls to healthcare, these companies have monetized all aspects of crime and punishment. Now, they're moving into a new frontier: electronic surveillance.
I told county that if they put 2 beacons up, that the signals would interrupt each other, and that's exactly what's happening. The violations have just gotten worse.
Mohawk Johnson has been on an ankle monitor for nearly 2 years after being arrested for alleged battery at a Black Lives.
Okay, just something else. I mean, okay, this was about to be insane. Oh hi, baby. But this is talk about more about like the immigration problem, right? The demonization of immigrants is just another side effect of capitalism, because capitalism will always keep taking more from the proletariat. It would always take more of your pay, take more of your freedoms, take more of your benefits. But then they will need someone to blame. They will blame anybody they can. What they've been doing for a while now is they've been blaming immigrants, but that's not true. Immigrants provide an insane value to the economy. Every study ever conducted shows them immigrants put more into the tax pool that they take out, but they keep running with this a false premise that immigrants take advantage of our tax or benefit or social safety nets, or I mean, whatever social safety nets we do have. It's not adequate if you ask me still, but it's a false premise. Every study ever conducted on the matter, or any good study ever conducted in the matter, let me say it this way, has shown time and time again that immigrants put more money into the tax pool than they take out. It has always been true, and it will always be true. People are just here to work for the most part, and they should not be demonized or criminalized for just trying to get ahead and just trying to work. Basically, that's what they're doing. They're just here to provide labor to this country.
Matter protest. He is still awaiting trial.
I don't really like that I have cameras in my house. I don't like being recorded.
all the time.
He's placed cameras in his bedroom to capture how often he's woken up to be told he's not in his house.
I am not. I'm in bed. You just woke me up. Please stop waking me up.
They call my actual leg monitor. It starts to vibrate and make a really loud noise.
The sheriff told me to move my beacon because I relocated.
The issues with his monitor have placed him in a constant state of anxiety.
May I ask why I keep getting called at work? This has happened like 6 or 7 times.
It's gotten bad to the point that when my phone vibrates, I get scared because I think I'm in trouble.
I'm literally standing under my beacon.
We're really extending.
That's insane. That's not. I can imagine how anxiety-inducing that is.
The boundaries of incarceration. Some people incarcerated in their homes, some people incarcerated in the jail.
These firms don't just collect money from the government, they charge people for their own incarceration.
In many cases, you're paying a daily fee to be on electronic monitors. And those would be $5, $10 a day, up to the highest I've seen is $47.
Ankle shackles has emerged as a term for these devices.
I've interviewed many Black people who have been on electronic monitors, and they repeatedly talk about when they look at their ankle, they think of a slave shackle.
Space allowed for each man, 6 foot by 1 foot 6. For each woman, 5 foot by 1 foot 4.
It's definitely a shackle. Like, they always frame it as if they're trying to rehabilitate people, but you can't really like trigger somebody's PTSD nonstop and then say that that's rehabilitative.
We have never asked these firms to focus on rehabilitation. Our experiment with private prisons in the US has been a massive failure.
I mean, people act like, at least government officials act like there's no better solution. Like they're doing their best, and any reform they do offer is usually more profit incentive for private companies. But there's working systems already in other countries. Back to what I was saying, like other countries like Sweden has a great prison system, very reformative prison system, and that works. It clearly works. Like you don't have to try to figure something else out. It's already there, and you can just take it. You can just implement it here. But it's not profit driven, therefore it's not American. That's the bottom line. When things are not profit, the profit incentive is not the most important part of them. They're not American because they're not capitalist.
Following the US's lead, in recent decades, other countries around the world have begun to experiment with privatization.
Scores of refugee and migrant children who were held for months and even years by the Australian government in one of their refugee detention centers. Dozens of children still live in the camp's moldy tents.
I think one thing that always concerns us in the United States is the international precedent that it sets.
They've spread in a number of ways, particularly in the English-speaking world, in the UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand.
But as the US starts to question the influence of these companies, what happens if other countries don't?
And my main concern going forward is not so much in developed countries, but in less developed countries where they might be persuaded to go down this road and end up regretting it later.
The second America privatized the imprisonment of people, what do you mean? What's this on? Like, what's the video on? The video is about the prison industrial complex. Anyway, what I was saying was I've lost my train of thought. The moment America privatized the prisons, people's freedom, I think is the moment capitalism went a little too far, as it pertains to making a profit out of keeping people in a cage. That's insane. I mean, any other form of capitalism, I think, is still bad. Like, I still would rather have something more socialist, a better a better system that puts people first instead of profit incentive. Um, and like I said, like similarly to the prison system, there's still better systems out there that work for employment, for all this disgusting practices that capitalism allows for medical care, for medical insurance. There's working uh, systems out there, but America refuses to listen or even uh, toy with the idea of learning from other countries, because America is the greatest. America is the most powerful. America is the smartest. With very little evidence to that, they like to still think that, and that is a flaw that will cost Americans a lot. Um, a lot of countries are leaving America behind. You got Brazil, you got India, you got China. They're leaving America behind, and America refuses to play ball with them, even in an economic sense. And that would cost America a lot.
Now, the arguments for and against. There are over 10 million people in some form of government incarceration around the world today. There are 2.3 million in the USA alone, and any way you slice it, that is a huge population of people. The population of people living in prisons is larger than the population of people living in most countries on Earth.
That's crazy.
Now, the arguments for and against prisons and criminal punishment and the power of the state are endless, and we will be trying to avoid this entirely for this video.
Okay. So before this video starts, trying to punish a crime. If you're trying to punish a crime, you already lost the argument. Crime is something that you should be trying to fix, to make people better. That's what you should be trying to do. And by putting them in a cage and punishing them, you're not fixing the problem. If anything, you're making it worse. It's pretty obvious. What is it? 2 out of 3 people that commit crimes and are put in jail are back in jail within the next year. So it's clearly not working.
For 2 reasons. 1, there are people far more qualified to speak on these issues. Yes, there are lots of people in prison that probably shouldn't be there, and a lot of people that aren't there that really need to be. Yes, the conditions in many of these institutions around the world are abhorrent, and yes, there are probably crimes that land people in prison that really shouldn't. But go and learn about that from someone who can speak on these issues with authority. The second reason we are avoiding this side of the issue is that it would detract from what we are really here to explore, which is the economics of this whole system. Okay. Locking people up is a big business, and whatever way you slice it, 10 million people is a potentially huge workforce. All of this can add up to have some very significant contributions towards national economies in more ways than you might expect. But, as always, we need to look at a few key areas to truly understand the economics of incarceration. So, what's the opportunity cost of having people locked up? What?
The opportunity cost. What are you giving up to get something in return?
What impacts does this all have on the wider economy? And finally, what impacts does the economy have on incarceration? Now, while this all sounds like a pretty grim topic that, let's be honest, most of you economics nerds watching are never going to have to experience directly, it's still really important to understand. This is because, even despite the social impacts that putting people in prison can have, there are some very serious positive and negative externalities caused by this system. In a heartless, clinical sort of way, the study of economics could shed some light into the system by addressing the opportunity cost of the bars. What does the New York Hilton, the Marriott Maui Ocean Club, and the Grand Hyatt of Paris all have in common? A night in any one of these hotels would cost less than a night in the average state penitentiary. Let that sink in. Average penitentiary. Not supermax, not intensive treatment facilities, just the average run-of-the-mill prison. What's more is that according to publicly available state budget records, these figures get a lot worse in certain areas. In New York, for example, the average prisoner is running the taxpayer just under $2,500 a.
That's insane, especially because a lot of prisons in America are privatized. We're giving people just money, just for the hell of it. Imagine investing this amount of money on people instead of trying to uh give it to private industries so they can keep them in a cage and feed them the worst food possible. Like, again, the solutions are right there, but America will not admit that other countries have better ideas than them. And um it's weird because the American people, for all they talk, they're very docile. They don't they're very individualist. And that's by design, I feel. Uh they like to think of themselves as individuals, are the masters of their own destiny. Uh but as a which sounds nice in theory, but as a result of that, you get a lot of resentment and a lot of lack of help to your neighbor, which is ironic because it's very un-Christian like to do that, which America claims to be a very Christian country. But yeah, when you're an individualist, you see yourself as, I heard this quote somewhere, I forget where, uh, but everybody else is poor. You're just a millionaire that's just embarrassed for a bit. Everybody thinks they're gonna make it. Everybody thinks they're gonna be uh, worth a lot more money than they are right now. So instead of fighting for their class, instead of being instead of fighting for your class, you become a class traitor and you fight for the rights of the classes above you. Uh and you're just giving them more right to step on you. That's all you're doing. You're not helping yourself, you're not helping your future self. You're just harming your neighbor. That's all you're doing. But that is the American way.
A night. That is $892,206 per year, which is about the average total state tax revenue.
Like, think about it. Like, you spend this much money on one prisoner a year. Like, this is the budget for some social work areas in the country. Like, social work establishments in the country. Like, it's insane.
Revenue from 110 citizens, and they wonder why their taxes are so high in New York. All of this ignores federal penitentiaries, which in fairness are cheaper, only averaging around $300 per night, but still add to the collective bill. So, prisons are expensive. This probably isn't a huge surprise to a lot of people, but just how expensive may be to some, especially when this becomes a question of opportunity cost. It costs the average New York taxpayer $2,000 per year to maintain the state's prison system. Of course, more of this is paid by higher income earners with higher marginal tax rates, but on average, that's the figure. Now, I am sure that the average person watching would be more than happy to give up $2,000 of their hard-earned dollars to keep people who are truly a danger to the community behind bars. Nobody is advocating for free-range serial killers because they are more cost-effective, but for non-violent offenders, this trade-off might be a little bit more difficult. Personal opinions about being tough or easy on crime, sometimes the dollars and cents are the easiest, most rational way to think about it. But, of course, there is more to this. Even non-violent crimes can have negative externalities, community deterioration, property damage, knock-on implications that may push people to...
Yeah, but these are problems that are easily corrected, right? You don't have to punish somebody for these type of crimes. You can easily correct their behavior with a lot more social work, a lot more social services, and a lot more social safety nets. You could avoid all these types of crime, or at least reduce them exponentially. A lot of other countries have done it. A lot of other European countries have done it. It's common knowledge at this point outside of America that this is not the way of doing things. However, again, America does not like to admit that other countries might have good ideas and does not like implementing those. Or actually, I don't think that's the case. I take that back. It's more like America is fully invested in capitalism. Capitalism has to be the way, or if it's not a capitalistic way to do things, then it's the wrong way to doing things, right? If the incentive is not profit, then it doesn't make sense. So yeah, so the incentive for America will never be people, at least if it keeps going the way it is. But like a famous man once said, it takes sometimes years, if for decades, it can feel like nothing changes, but in weeks you can make decades of change. If you want to figure out who said that, his name was Vladimir, not Putin or Zelensky, but you can figure that out pretty easily.
Of violence and genuine suffering from things like substance abuse, does the cost-benefit analysis still work then? Well, maybe. The total cost of crime in the USA was estimated by the Government Accountability Office to be around $690 billion in 2017,
Cost of crime, I don't know
of which about $190 billion was the cost of maintaining those prisons. But there are some ancillary costs that people might not consider. The report broke these costs down into 3 sections: costs in anticipation of crime, costs as a consequence of crime, and costs in response to a crime. Costs in anticipation to a crime are important to consider because they are often overlooked. Things like insurance premiums, home security systems, prevention programs, and policing are all the costs that a society incurs because crime may exist. If crime was to go away, these costs would be eliminated. Now, of course, locking people up doesn't necessarily get rid of crime, but most studies suggest it does, of course, reduce it, which should be relatively obvious. It's also easy to see that spending on these anticipation factors is relatively in line with crime rates. Much more money is spent on security by the average resident of Johannesburg than the average resident of Oslo. The second factor is the cost as a direct consequence of crime, as in, once a crime is committed, this is the bill of damages. This can range from relatively mundane things like costs of damages for graffiti or a broken window, all the way up to things that are a bit more difficult to put a price tag on, like the cost of a human life, which is probably the big one here. This category also incorporates things like lost wages for unpaid workdays by the victims who...
Yeah, this video is going a little bit too much into the economic side of things. I appreciate it, and it's definitely a very interesting video to watch, but it's not mainly what I was like looking to watch. But yeah, let's look at now a actual prison that works. Because those do exist. There's actually a lot of them.
Staying in
just not in America.
a maximum security prison is not a normal life, but that's also an ambition to reduce the feeling of being in a prison as much as possible.
And in here you have my cell. So I have DVD and movies from there.
Look at that. It looks like you can have people in prison and still treat them like humans. Crazy.
Basic question that we ask ourselves in Norway: what kind of neighbor do we really want? Because they could move into my neighborhood and they could move into your neighborhood. So I think this is an important question to ask ourselves, really. That should have an influence on how we work inside prisons.
See, it's just okay. We haven't fully watched the video, but clearly treating people like they're humans and trying to understand the reasons why they commit crimes is a way better idea than just throwing them in boxes and like telling them you did bad. You know what I'm saying? People don't commit crime because they want to. their circumstances. They're victim of their circumstances, and it's unfair to treat them as anything else. They're victims to a system, especially in America. They're victims to a capitalistic system. Uh, and yeah, it's just the way it is, and people, again, under a capitalistic society, you look for people to blame for your misfortune. If a company starts cutting hours, they will find a way to blame it on theft and shoplifting, when it's not the case. All right, the only reason they're cutting down hours or they're closing stores is because it's in their best profit incentive. It's their profit incentive. They want to. Mm, they cut hours or they close stores because it's what will make them more money. That's the only reason. It is not because of any other external reason. And one of the people they like to blame it most on is criminals. But yeah.
It's not for the prison to judge or to punish. We have to interact and be human.
Oh my god, how beautiful is this? This is about to make me cry, honestly. You can. This goes for anything, not just the prison complex here in America, but anything in life. You just gotta treat people like other humans. You know what I'm saying? You see this in workplaces a lot too. How many times have you felt like your manager does not see you as an equal, just because honestly they just make more money than you? They talk down to you. They are condescending. Um, but when if you ever get a chance to have a work or a job that you get treated like a normal person, like a human, like a decent human being would treat anyone else, you feel so much comfortable and you want to work there and you're excited to go to work. Yeah, that's the mental health part. That's another factor in there. Um, we criminalize mental health a lot instead of trying to help people who are going through a mental crisis. We just criminalize them and send them to jail. A lot of the times, not always, because there are some safety nets in America that deal with that. They're still not adequate safety nets, but there are some. But yeah, it's and like I'm saying, like people solved the problem already. These people in Norway solved the problem already about imprisonment and incarceration, but it's not profitable. So America will never do this.
I think it's as simple as that.
See how passionate he's about his work job. By the way, I want to stop pausing. See how passionate he's about his job, because he knows he's making a difference. That's just a different thing. You know how much better it is to go to work every day when you feel fulfilled by your job, within some kind of fulfillment. And that feeling he has, that could be any job. Any job could feel like that if you have more control over your life, if you have more control over your labor, you could feel like that. But again, America will never do those things. But yeah. See, this is what happens. This is what a normal country would do. They see the system they have failing, so they re-examine and they restructure. But the only thing America does and will continue to do is double down on their system. Even if Joe Biden signs whatever whatever law into place, still the prison complex will always find a way to make profit and just wait for the next president and do the. I'm sorry, your Twitch is lagging. I really wanted you to watch this, but I'm sorry.
The most important thing is how we treat people. This is the 4 key elements that I would like you to remember. The principle of normality, the focus that we have in Norway on humanity inside prisons, what we call dynamic security, and the emphasis that we put on reintegration into society.
How beautiful is this?
I would say the main goal of the trip is for inspiration to go bold back in the United States.
It will never happen.
Let's talk a little bit more about Halden then. How do we work and what are the unique things about us?
Okay, I don't like the way this video's done, like with the dialogue and then the documentary part and then just random subtitles or stuff. Yeah, but every prison can be as humane as this, especially in America, especially with the numbers you saw that we're spending on inmates per day in the thousands. It's insane.
And in here you have my cell. So I have DVD and movies from there. Here we have a real toilet with a shower and everything.
Yeah, how nice are
you
these
can see everybody
prison cells?
have their key.
I mean, cells, technically.
So they can open or close the doors whenever they want.
Even though it's nice here, it's still not a summer camp.
Sorry,
I
love,
would
it's
like
fine.
you to
Don't worry.
look beyond the facilities. It's not the most important thing.
So this is the cell. Every cell is similar. And here we have the kitchen, where I used to prepare the food. You can see here is inside here.
That's a really important principle in Norway, which talks about that taking someone's liberty away and taking them away from their family, away from their community, that in of itself is the punishment. So life inside prisons should look as normal to life in the community as possible.
And in here, you have this...
You're right, because they're trying to put them back into society. That's the goal to these prisons. To make them like good citizens again. And that is not the purpose of American prisons. The purpose of American prisons is to punish and exploit their labor while they're inside. Give me a second, I gotta take a call. What's up?
The washing room. You can wash the clothes and...
Look how cool this is. This is so nice.
Staying in a maximum security prison is not a normal life.
And I noticed you're...
I mean, yeah, you say they're eating good in Norway, but this is possible in America. America's the richest country on earth. This is super possible. First of all, what we need to do is what we need to do is reform all the prison systems. So make sure anyone that's in prison needs to be in prison. Second of all, we need to there's other problems in American society, but exclusively talking about prison reform, this is very possible. But yeah, we could definitely do this. Like the other video said, we're already spending thousands of dollars per inmate per day. Like this is the most possible thing ever.
Yeah. That's allowed. You can wear whatever you want.
But that's also an ambition.
Like I said on the other stream, when we're talking about more labor stuff. Uniforms are just there to remove people's individuality. Once you remove people's individuality, they feel some more comfort being just a cog in a machine. That applies to labor, that applies to prison, that applies to school, that applies to everything. Once you don't see yourself as an individual. Yeah, Batman hates America too. Batman, my dog, by the way. I'm not saying Batman is over here or hates America. But But yeah, I mean, this is I lost my train of thought again. God damn it! Stop typing in chat. Lost my train of thought. But yeah, no, this is insane.
To reduce the feeling of being in a prison as much as possible. That's the normality principle.
How you can normalize the correctional setting for individuals to transition out, bigger challenge in our system. But
my point was, yeah, America can definitely afford switching the prison system to something like that. Especially they can. I mean, obviously I'm not in charge, right? But if I was in charge, I would just take over all the actual buildings that are private prisons. Just take them. Who gives a fuck? And switching out to something like this would create jobs first of all, and it would be an easy thing to do. It will create it would it would give some other people, like the people that work there, a greater purpose. I'm sure anybody that works in a prison does not, and like as a jailer or anything like that, or as a warden, does not feel fulfilled by their job. Their job must suck. They can have a better job where they feel like they're actually making a change in the world. But no, that does not make money. I'm sure like this people, like nobody's making money out of these prisoners.
definitely something to think about.
Okay,
the commissary, the stores, where an individual actually gets to go to a real store.
Wait, let's look up the commissary in an American prison. Look at this. This is like the stuff you can buy in an American prison commissary. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love instant ramen. Well, that's a W right there for American prison. But other than that, just look at this shit. It's so sad. It's so sad to look at. And now look at their commissary.
And pick out commissary.
They're just treated like normal people. Look at
good
fresh produce. Like it's so possible, especially America. America has a substantial amount of extra food that we throw out every day. Like we have a surplus of food. This is like the most possible thing in America. This should be the baseline, which is insane that it's not.
Good adds to the normalization.
We think this is the most important part. Dynamic security sounds like a very fancy thing, but it's really just having a normal interpersonal relations between the officers, or all staff really, and the inmates.
Crazy.
Every inmate has a primary contact officer, and every officer had to have 2 or 3 inmates that he is the contact officer for. That was the ambition, from guard to also be a social worker.
Dude, oh my god. It's just pissing me off how good things could be. And how America just turns a blind eye and just pretends this doesn't exist. Especially because there's American people here that are supposed to go back to America and try to implement something like this. They won't. You know what I'm saying? Or they might do it just to get like a headline somewhere, and then that program will never be continued. Because it's not profitable, it's not capitalistic, so they will not touch it. Yeah, no, they probably won't let you move to Norway. I'm gonna be honest. How's Norway on immigration? Good question.
The main subjects at the academy: ethics, psychology, communication technique, criminology, law, human rights. Of course, they do learn self-defense. They do learn extraction techniques. They do learn to work as a team. But that's not, that's not the major components. It's about how do you treat people respectfully.
My family always think that I just play games, because that's why I like very much to play games. So I often play cards and stuff with inmates.
I know in some.
That sounds like an amazing job. like I would never want to be a guard in an American prison. I would take their job in a second. You know what I'm saying? They seem happy. They seem fulfilled by their job. They're making a difference actually in their society. I don't think any American jailer or guard could say that.
Some states, it's forbidden and will have consequences.
Is that their last name? Because if it is, they have the same last name. But maybe that's like the name of the person or something.
For you, if you interact with inmates as a staff member, quite the opposite here. We expect and demand an interaction between staff and inmates.
It's kind of friendship with someone, and to see the progress and see the changes, that's the best way to job.
That's awesome.
The contact officer is, for example, sitting down with you and making you a future plan. So what for steps by steps to become a free man.
From day one?
Yeah.
So the officers need to know everything about the system and give advice to the inmates about the future, what steps should they take.
Photos of my daughter, big love of my life. I've been here for 1.5 years, but I was transferred from a prison in Brazil. You can compare that to come from hell to heaven. So it's a big difference. The guards, first of all, in Brazil, the guards are more you feel bad and weakness, the more they feel good. Here you have the guards, they was very kind to me when I came. They are still very kind. We can speak, they treat me as a human being. In Brazil, you get treated like an animal.
I've been working here since the opening in 2010, and I've been working other prisons before that also. It's not for...
I don't know. I don't know the crimes they were there for. But even not knowing what crimes they're there for, right? Unless it's sociopaths. That's the only exception to this rule. I feel like any crime could be corrected. Any misbehavior, even stuff like murder, is something you can fix in a person, if that makes sense, and you can reintegrate them to society. Maybe that's a hot take, but yeah, crime should not be looked at like this in the fuck irredeemable thing. Sorry, I'm ESL.
For the prison to judge or to punish, because the police catch the guy, goes to the court, and it gets a sentence perhaps, and then it comes to prison with that. We have to interact and be human. I think it's as simple as that. It really is, because we can create walls between us.
I mean, no, yeah, there's definitely different levels to different crimes, of course. I mean, I'm not an idiot. Of course there is. But it's still something behavior you can still correct in a person. Obviously, you would not let a murderer out in the same time that you would let somebody that shoplifted out. But I'm assuming the amount of care and attention they're giving these prisoners, I would assume there is nothing like not serious. Cause like for like silly things that you're gonna be in prison for a few months, like there's no real reason to do all of this for that. Like a simple like you still should be in probably like a nice room like this and be treated like a human. But all this social work would not go into something like that. So I'm assuming they're um like hardcore criminals, for lack of a better term. I mean, no. I mean, you can. It's not like this systems. It's not like they're just letting them out after a few couple classes or stuff like that. No, this is extensive social work. There's therapy that's involved. Um, because, like I said, unless we're talking about sociopaths, people do not want to commit crimes, right? Uh, People commit crimes because of their circumstances and trying to understand those circumstances and treating them like humans and helping them understand the reason they're committing crimes and maybe making them reassuring them that there's other ways of looking at the world and giving them skills that will help them with them would surely fix that. Like I'm like the only like I said, the only people who I think will be unredeemable or cannot be fixed will be sociopaths because they lack those things. So yeah.
But that doesn't help anything. We have to communicate, we have to interact.
Without approaching people with respect and dignity, it's impossible to sit down the next day and talk about his future because he will not have any trust in you. So in order to work well with reintegration and future planning, etc., there has to be a foundation there of trust between the staff and the inmates.
I've visited a lot of prisons in the United States as well, and somehow I don't have the same kind of feeling of relief of getting out of an impressive environment that I've experienced coming out of those prisons. Mm-hmm. I think that says something about how different the environment is here.
I think
See, these are like repeat offenders in other countries. I think it was this guy. He said he spent time in prison in Brazil. Like, no, these are people these are definitely not criminals. You know what I'm saying? They're not just random people like that did shoplifting one day. You know what I'm saying? I'm not assuming in Norway there's no real punishment, like harsh punishment for shoplifting or anything silly like that. That would probably be dealt with like with social worker, not really necessarily imprisonment.
I have big opportunities here to prepare myself for the life after prison. I thought there is still hope. There is still opportunities, to get a good life after getting out. So, yeah.
Like I said, like this system's already in place. But America will never look at another country and be like, you know what, that's a great idea. Let me use that. And also, there's no profit to this, so America will not come anywhere close to this. All right, now I kind of want to look at this. Let's see where it takes us. But it's oh boy. Look, I'm down to move to Norway, but I'm looking at the immigration policy that they have. They seem to not be great with it, especially allowing people to stay there. And want to move to Norway, you must apply for a residence permit. The main regulations is that you must apply for this, and the permit must be awarded before you move into Norway. Actually, it doesn't seem that hard to move to Norway. We can go there for 3 months for free, not for free, but without any problems. Yeah, I mean, I'll be down to move to Norway. Let's listen to this goober over here, Mr. Jordan Peterson, talk about his experience visiting a high security prison.
A very small person in my classes and also very mouthy, which might not come as much of a surprise, and somewhat provocative. And so, and I got pushed around a fair bit because everybody gets pushed around, and my weapon was to be mouthy, and it was a fairly effective weapon, although it tended to backfire because, if you're really effectively mouthy with large, obnoxious people, then they tend to respond in a relatively negative physical way. And so that sort of thing was happening to me a fair bit. But I was quite proud of the fact that I had some intellectual power. And that it was then in my 20s when I learned about some of the danger of that, because I started to read partly Milton's Paradise Lost, and I started to understand the danger of the intellect. And the danger of the intellect, as far as I can tell, is that it tends towards pride and arrogance, and it also tends to fall in love with its own productions. And so that's actually Lucifer in Paradise Lost. That's Lucifer. Lucifer is the intellect that falls in love with its own production. Working at a prison, only a little bit, I worked with this crazy psychologist. He used to put jokes on his multiple choice tests. He was a really eccentric guy, but I really liked his courses. He taught a course on creativity, and he was also a prison psychologist. And he was an eccentric guy, and he, for some reason, liked me, and maybe because I was eccentric too. And he invited me to go out to the Edmonton Maximum Security Prison with him a couple of times, which I did. And that was a very interesting experience, because I was trying to figure out what role each individual's behavior bore to the pathology of Portugal and conservative garb.
Never mind, we're not watching this. We're not watching Mr. Goober today. Alright. I did have another video here on the playlist that we wanted to watch. Let's see. Alright, now let's look at what happens inside American prisons. So America has a different way of capitalizing or making profit on the prison complex. As with TV shows, fun fact, alright? There's a lot of shows that take place inside of prison. One of the main culprits of this is A&E. They have shows like, I believe, Beyond Scared Straight was an A&E show. That was terrible. That's actually the one I wanted to react to today, but they actually removed everything from YouTube, understandably. I'm sure we can find a compilation, but not the actual full episodes. Sorry. All right. But yeah, this it does provide a good look into the American prison complex.
Hey, bro, why you just punching him, bro?
I'm playing cards and I hear Dallas yell that thump and smack Deshaun.
Like, look at this. Like, look at the way they live compared to what happened in the Norway prison. That's insane. Like I said, America is the richest country in the world. Like, there's no reason why this is the way prisons have to be run. And I mean, these prisons are expensive as hell to run as well. So there's definitely a more humane way to treating criminals than this. It's disgusting. It's terrible. You let the prisoners pretty much establish what the rules are, and the only rules they know already are the rules of this. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see a lot of segregation in prison, and it's self-segregation a lot of the times. Because it's just the way they are, you know what I'm saying? The way the only way they know. Not through any fault or their own, you know. Like, society is, especially American society, is built in a way to push lower classes down and does not lend them a hand when it's needed, but has no problem lending rich people a hand. Even when it's not necessarily needed, it's just wanted.
You good, bro?
See, this is what happens when you don't treat people like humans. They don't see themselves as humans, so you end up having all this like crazy shit happen, which is insane. Yeah, I kind of don't want to look at this anymore. Seems like it's about to get crazy. Yeah, no, I don't want to watch this. That's crazy. No, not fun. There was another video that I wanted to watch. Oh, it's the old lady visiting. I might have been the same. Um. What's the name of that lady? Was it Finland or Norway? Um. Second, let me try to get the name of this video here. The world's most luxurious person. This actually, that's the video I watched.
I'm Anne Widdicombe, and I'm in Norway. I've come to one of the most unusual prisons in the world.
This is a spa, it's a holiday resort.
With a very relaxed approach to relationships.
We get visits 2 times a week.
They can have sex.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you won't get me on the floor. And every home comfort you can think of. Actually, it's better than the outside world. Woo! There's even a waiting list to get in. You bargained with the police for where you were going to go to prison. Plush apartments for rapists and murderers. And even some escapes.
I think this is the same prison we just looked at, but now we're looking at a British, I think Parliament lady. Don't quote me on that. Going over and looking at this prison, and you can already tell she's being very, very condescending towards the whole idea of this more humane prison.
How many do you lose that way? It all sounds very dubious to me. There's a riot. Lie down immediately. But does Holden Prison actually work? Do you do an intimate search?
Well, not inside of them.
And what is prison for, if not punishment?
We have a way to...
What is prison for, if not punishment? You're saying, like, prison should not be a punishment, like I said earlier. Prison should be looking to correct certain behaviors, and whether those behaviors are learned, whether those behaviors are sometimes ingrained in people, that's the purpose. That should be the purpose. But no, we see a lot of us see prisons the same way she does. It's punishment for a crime, but like I said, it shouldn't be.
Know when it's gone through,
yes.
So we give them corn.
I thought I'd seen it all, but I was wrong.
Let's be clear. Prison works. It ensures that we are protected from murderers, muggers, and rapists.
When I was prisons minister back in the 1990s, the government believed that prison was meant to be a stern place, a deterrent as well as a punishment. We will scrap early release. You will be detained, you will be dealt with speedily, and you will be removed. Zero.
See what this lady's saying? You see what this lady used to talk about?
A deterrent as well as a punishment. We will scrap early.
A prison was a deterrent, right? America would not have the most amount of imprisoned people. That's insane. Like, that's obvious. Prison's not a deterrent for anything.
Release. You will be detained, you will be dealt with speedily, and you will be removed. Zero tolerance. But were we?
First of all, that haircut, dude. First of all, that haircut, right? First of all, already wrong. You're wrong by default. If you have this haircut, you're just wrong about everything. All right.
Detained, you will be dealt with speedily, and you will be removed. Zero tolerance. But were we right? Today, our prisons are bursting at the seams and stacked full of repeat offenders.
See, she clearly, she already has the concept down. Her ideology is wrong, obviously. With those 2 sentences, she already was on the money with it. But
I've heard that prisons in Norway are very different. More maximum comfort than maximum security. And their reoffending rates are the lowest in the world. So I'm on my way to Holden Prison, which I'm told is the most luxurious of them all. I think the phrase decent but austere sums up my idea of what imprisonment is. You're not being taken off to a hotel for a few months or a few years, you're being taken to a place of incarceration.
Again, she's being super condescending about the idea. No, you're there to be not fixed. What's the word I'm thinking of?
So you should know every day
Corrected?
that you're in prison. Halden was built in 2010 as a groundbreaking experiment and houses some of Norway's most dangerous men. It's fairly typical prison entrance. First thing you notice is the wall, of course, and the lights.
Hello.
Hello. I'm Anne Widdicombe. I've come to visit your prison.
What is your name?
Anne Widdicombe. I am told that behind these walls is a prison unlike any I visited before. And I've been to over 135 prisons. Good morning.
Could I see your ID, please?
ID, yes.
Not the YouTube comment.
My EU passport, not for much
The
longer.
YouTube has a bit more of a delay on the stream.
This is a maximum security
Sorry
prison.
about that.
There are men
But
here
yeah, it's
who've
my
committed
secondary
very
stream,
disturbing crimes, including murder, rape, and child abuse. I am utterly used to.
Okay, so these are people that actually had committed like serious crimes, right? Not that any crime is not serious. But yeah, no, these are definitely like serious offenders when it comes to the law.
Spending my time amidst all sorts of criminals, from the very small right up to the multiple murderers, and indeed, in my day, the IRA. I don't shudder away from that. That's as normal as blueberry pie.
So, do you know anything about this prison?
I'm told it's
That's the
more
same
like
guy
a
as the other
hotel
video,
than a
right?
prison.
With the room service and stuff? Is that what
Well,
you
I
think?
doubt if you have room service.
Okay.
But I'm told that you have ensuite facilities in the rooms.
Yeah.
And that the rooms are quite nice.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is anything like I've been told, I get the impression they might want to come back again. Halden is Norway's second largest prison. It cost £138 million to build and was designed not to look or feel like a prison. Living this life of luxury are 40 murderers, 20 rapists and 20 child molesters. Oh, and it's also home to around 60 drug...
So you see, these are like serious offenders. These are not like what you would consider in American society nice people, right? And they still, especially if they're in a prison system, if they should be still treated as humans. Like I understand, like to some extent, a lot of victims' families or relatives would feel a type of way about it. But as a society, we have a duty to do better.
Dealers.
This is the area
It's a weird thing to say when
inmates
you're driving.
come for the first time.
Now, the first thing I notice here is there isn't a bar in sight.
No.
Crazy.
You won't see that, I guess, almost nowhere around the prison.
No bars.
No.
Right.
You will be surprised.
I would be very surprised. What's your escape rate?
0.
No escapes.
Of course.
What sort of prisoners are you getting here?
Every kind of...
You're very violent ones.
Yeah. We are maximum security prison.
See, that answers your question from before. These are. There's a lot of violent offenders here. But that does not mean they do not deserve to be treated as humans. And yeah.
And no bars?
No.
In this maximum security prison?
No.
Right. If you're in prison in Britain, you know every single minute of every hour of every day that you are in prison. You're not allowed to forget it. Whereas here, that's the point.
We meet them here and we greet them with a handshake.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
like this.
That's all right. Yeah.
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 And then we can kind of get
And
feeling.
if they wanted to hug you, could they?
No.
Good.
Hmm.
Good. I am glad there are limits
Yeah,
somewhere.
we have limits. Yeah, we do.
Well, I've never been to a prison without bars before. And welcoming inmates with a friendly handshake does seem a bit odd. But there's one thing that's rife in prisons all over the world, and it requires more than a firm handshake to root out.
So this is where we strip search the inmates, taking all their belongings and give them our clothing.
Do you do an intimate search?
Well, not inside of them, but
You don't? What happens if they've got drugs inside them?
we search their mouth and we ask them to sit down like this when they're off clothing, and if something pops out, then we know. But we're not allowed to
But
search
you don't
anything.
actually do an intimate search, so they
Yeah,
could,
that's
they could have drugs.
dehumanizing.
They could have drugs, yeah. They
She
could.
is confused. She lives
This
confused,
is a
let's be
maximum
honest.
security prison. But just say to yourself, maximum security prison. It's not an open prison. It's not even what we would call a Cat C trainer. This is a maximum security prison. So far, it's all been a bit too relaxed for my liking, and I am baffled by the lack of intimate drug searches. There are 60 drug dealers here, for goodness sake, although at this point there don't seem to be many of them around. It's a bit like an empty school. I don't get the impression that there are more than 200 inmates here. Now, you go into a UK prison, and you go through the gate onto the landings, through the door onto the landings, and it is just a seething mass of prisoners. It's a different atmosphere altogether. You try going into Wandsworth. I'm curious to see what a typical cell looks like, which here they cheerfully call rooms.
Now I will reveal the luxury room.
Let's have a look at that.
Let's have a look at that and see what your mind is after we've seen it.
Oh,
What do you think about this?
well, first thing that hits me between the eyes is there are no bars on the window.
Yeah.
Well, why don't they just get out?
Because the glass is like this thick.
My golly,
Yeah.
their own fridge.
Their own fridge also.
Crazy, they're being
And they got
treated
their
like
own
human
bathroom.
beings.
My golly, you even got a shower.
They even got a shower.
Crazy, they're being treated like humans. That's insane. Her brain is so blown. Like, she is not following at all. She does not understand why this would be done. Although she admits the way she thinks does not work, she still thinks this is stupid for some weird ass fucking reason.
The en-suites I can live with. I don't know about the fridge. I mean, I'm amazed they haven't got a mini bar in their fridge. Television.
Yeah.
They lie here on their beds and they watch television.
Yeah. They can watch the news. They can see what's happening outside in the society. When they're going back, they can keep up with the society.
Well, I suppose I should
Yes,
be grateful they
get
haven't
it.
got a DVD player.
They do.
Let's go, they
They
do.
do.
Let's fucking go.
If they're in for
I remember seeing the movies on the other video we watched. I remember seeing all the movies that were there.
a long time and they've got wives, do they have conjugal visits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do?
They can get visits 2 times a week.
Conjugal
Yeah.
visits.
And
let's
whatever
go.
happens in that room, it's up to them.
They can have sex?
Yeah.
Of course, dude.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's very understandable. I don't want to make assumptions. But I'm assuming not a lot of people are out here wanting to have sex with this old lady, so it's hard for her to understand that people want to have sex. But yeah.
So we've got sex, television, fridges.
Human. They're just being treated like human beings. Right? Like I said, most people do not want to commit crimes. Like, but most people, I mean, like most people that are in prison do not want to commit crimes. Obviously, but we're all victims to our circumstances. That is a very simple concept to understand, but it's a very simple concept that most people try to avoid because it's hard for somebody to put themselves in other people's shoes, especially a criminal. But yeah.
Right, okay.
People like to think they would not commit crimes under any circumstances. But like I said, everybody's a victim to their circumstances. If you were under the same circumstances as somebody that committed a crime, yes, you would most likely commit that same crime. That is insane. That's a simple thought experiment, but people like to think they're better than other people, if that makes sense. Or they like to look down on people.
like you have on the outside, like a normal life on the outside, isn't it?
Yes, but the idea is, if you go to prison, it's not a normal life. I'm raising my eyebrows at such facilities. Surely being in prison means losing not just your liberty, but some of your home comforts too. I
mean, they're still losing a lot. They're still losing a lot. They don't live in their house. They don't. If they have kids, they don't see their kids as often as a normal person would. That's outside in the world. No, they're still losing a lot, and what they're losing is enough. Because again, she's seeing prison as a punishment. When it's a silly way to looking at it. Honestly, it's insane.
To meet one of these pampered prisoners, so I'm going to see someone.
Why is she so condescending? It bothers me so much.
Whose crime is so serious that he's got one of the longest sentences in Norway.
The soundtrack is hilarious.
2 hours south of Oslo and 10 minutes drive from the Swedish border is Norway's flagship prison, Halden. Inmates here live campus-style in fully equipped apartment blocks that they share with 9 other men. I'm about to meet Kirsten. He's serving a very long sentence, but it's not the done thing to ask for details.
They still serve pretty long sentences, especially if the crime was like a violent crime. It's not like they're just like quickly fixing them and throwing them out back into the world. No, they take their job pretty seriously and take their time but just still treat them like humans.
It's a convention in prisons. I mean, you just don't confront somebody and say, what did you do then? Are you Kirsten?
Yeah, I'm Karsten.
I'm Anne.
Hi, man.
Yeah?
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Would you like some coffee or tea?
Oh.
So this is the same guy from the other video. This is actually the guy that you asked. Like he was on screen when you asked about like the violent prisoners.
I could kill a cup of coffee. Thank you.
You want some sugar or milk?
No sugar, but I would like milk, please.
Uh-huh. I have a sentence of 20 years.
He got a very, very big sentence. He didn't just fiddle threepence off the bus fare. You know, he's done something which is very wrong. But it must have been quite a relief to come here.
I didn't believe that the way they treat me, like what they have an agenda, you know?
Yes.
A secret agenda.
Yeah.
You can see the guards treat us nice. We
Yeah.
are treating each other nice, and actually it's not so bad to stay here. I have nothing to complain about.
No, you're quite happy here.
Yeah, in the fact that I know I have to be in prison, I have to say I'm happy that I am here and not other places that could be worse, you know.
Kirsten's cellmates are either at the prison workshops or out on day release. And so they'll all come back at the same time from the work.
Yeah, more or less. We have this guy, he have a permission, I don't know, so he's allowed to going out of the prison for 7 or 8 hours.
Is he?
Yeah, they do it for, you know, to get ready.
So even though it's a very high security prison, you can still go out?
You have to prove that they can have confidence in you. Yeah.
How many do you lose that way?
If we lose somebody, it's like that. I don't have any exact number, but we have lost a few guys.
Some don't come back. They just...
Oh yeah, it's understandable. They would not want to come back because it's not amazing. It's not like it's better than other prisons, but it's not fun for them. You know what I'm saying? She's contradicting herself here. I don't know if she notices it, right? Like she's like, of course they would not come back, but on the other hand, she's like, oh, they have all the comforts they could ever ask for. Why would they? You know? There's nowhere they would rather be. But yeah, no, it's a silly thing to say.
Don't come back. Now that really is quite tough on the population because it means there's a criminal loose out there who shouldn't be.
But it's a...
Also, it's not like, I'm assuming, it's not like they just let it go. Like, we lost one. You know, they probably get found, or they look for them, and if they get found, they're probably not allowed in this system anymore, and they get thrown into a different system, which sucks. As an opportunity, they let go by. I'm a little less sympathetic to those people that would do that. But I still think they would still deserve like a chance at being reformed. That's the word I couldn't come up with earlier. Reformed. But yeah.
A big difference from this prison and a prison in England?
Oh, this one is. Yeah, this one is very different. I haven't seen anything like this in England. I've been into 135 UK prisons, and in very, very few of them could I see this sort of setup working. Number of fights in UK prisons and assaults on...
Yeah, because they're treated like they're not human. Like, when you're treated like you're not human, you behave like you're not human. When people have a lack of respect and kindness towards you, that's your outlook on the world. You don't see that in others as well. Like I said, people are just victims of their circumstances. Since, like, it's a very simple thing to understand when you have empathy for people, when you can put yourself in other people's shoes and understand where they're coming from. It's something that's very easy to understand and like come to terms with. But she doesn't see it that way, and a lot of people from her generation don't see it that way. But yeah, no.
On staff, and it's just different. It's my second day at Holden.
More effective.
After hearing about a few prisoners not returning from day release, I need some reassurance that the officers really are in control. So Armand and Linda take me down a secret underground tunnel to see one of their rarely used rooms.
Tactical room.
Right, so this is when you've got a situation.
Yeah, when we got a situation, we had to dress up to be prepared.
We still have riot.
Good heavens. How many of you are trained in riot control?
Everybody.
Everybody?
Yeah.
And how many times have you been in riot gear over the last year?
One time for me, and that was during night time.
Right.
Yeah.
But totally, like the past year, I guess 5 to 10 times. Perhaps.
Right.
Yeah.
That's heavy stuff.
I'm sure
Well,
the price
actually,
is that
quite strong just to wear it all. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't like to be clonked with that. That's very heavy. Yeah.
No. And we have different ones that is harder as well.
Harder than
that? This is kind of a training baton.
Be careful not to kill him.
It's to stop him. It's not like when he's already down.
What if he's trying to get up?
Well, as soon as we are many officers, like 5 or 6, like we told you, and we will just rush up on him and lay him down.
Can I see somebody in riot gear?
Yes, we have Monta here.
Let's go. Let's go.
Ah, it's very impressive.
Utenpå.
It's actually quite difficult to imagine this being needed here. Whereas in some of the big prisons that I've seen in the UK, you think, where's the riot gear? Almost before you start. There we go. Now you look even fiercer. Are we in a standoff? So you've got a prisoner coming up to you threatening. What do you do?
How funny would it be if you just like slander with that shield? Be fucking hilarious.
To push him.
Yes.
On the wall.
Against
and
the
make
wall.
him on the wall.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And
okay.
have control on them on the back
Yeah.
side.
Yeah. Oh, you so-and-sos. No, you're being very gentle. Push on me.
We are, because we can move against you.
Yeah, don't worry, you won't get me on the floor.
No.
Lady, I will sneeze and put you.
Let's say that's the wall.
Yeah.
Say that's the wall.
Yeah.
And I do this, then what happens?
If you don't stop, then you get hit with a...
Then I get hit with one of those, yeah. No, that was fine. But you were being very gentle. You'd be much rougher than that, would you?
Yeah.
You're back in your normal gear now.
Yes.
That's how you're going to get around.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
That is so fun.
I've never seen scooters in UK prisons. Whether they do now, I don't know. Certainly not in my time. I never once saw a scooter. They tend to run. I'm coming. There's a riot. Lie down immediately. Lie down, lie down. I've got a baton. Lie on the floor. Lie on the floor.
Okay, that was kind of funny. Like it should be more like that, right? It should be that funny most of the time. That was kind of funny.
It's hard to imagine a riot here. and I've yet to see more than 1 or 2 prisoners together. It's such a calm atmosphere that I'm starting to wonder if they're allowed to stay in bed all day.
So where are they all now?
So most of the inmates are in the workshops.
This is a car workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here you also can get a degree.
I bet this is popular.
Yeah.
This is Norway's first garage behind bars. Raymond is on the mechanics course. He's serving time for murder and has the ominous nickname, the Grill Master. I'm not going to ask why.
Since you've been doing this, what's it done for you?
Nei, det er jo ålreit for huet da, for å prøve å få dagen til å bli normal da. Ellers så tenker jeg mye på avdelingen, så er det greit å strikke litt, finne på noe der da.
Do you want to do something with cars?
So he does knitting?
Strikke litt, finne på noe der.
Okay, that's knitting? That's kind of a vibe.
Do you want to do something with cars when you leave?
Vil du jobbe med biler når du går ut?
I work with cars when I was 13 years old. So I do much.
So you've always liked cars?
Yeah. It's my hobby.
Yeah. Jolly good.
All the courses here, from mechanics and carpentry to printing and sheet metal work, are run by professionals.
So,
hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So this is Grib.
Grib?
I mean, some American prisons have a more bare bones, similar thing to this. We should not do knitting together. You will never catch me knitting. That's like the most boring thing I can think of doing ever. Knitting, crocheting, anything like that sounds boring as hell for me. At least for my ADHD ass, it's not fun.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hello, Grip. That's
Hello.
a funny name.
Yeah, it's my nickname.
What does it mean?
Oh, it's a vulture in Norwegian.
Vulture?
Yeah.
Dear me, what have you done to get a nickname like that?
I got a tattoo.
Ah,
At the
right.
age of 14, so
Okay.
not my proudest moment, but
So what happens in this workshop?
we make people professional welders and sheet
Yes.
metal worker in actually this room.
And do you account for all the tools very carefully?
Yeah. Every morning, that's the first thing I do. I go around the shop
Yeah.
and see that everything is here. And I do the same thing in the
Because
afternoon.
we've had people make some very funny things in our metal shop. One even
You're never gonna catch me knitting. I promise you that.
used tubes for a gun.
Yeah.
So we're terribly, terribly careful. But you've got everything sort of just out.
Everything is available for the students. So if they really want to hurt me, they can.
They don't, because they're normal human beings as well, and they're being given opportunities, and they're taking advantage of them. This is probably the first time ever they have been given opportunities. People don't do crime because they want to.
Inmates can be very inventive with the right equipment, and by golly, there are lots of dangerous tools lying around, not to mention expensive ones.
And who pays for all these machines?
The education department, yes.
Right. They pay for all of this.
Yeah. The students get the best machinery, and they are trained on the same machinery that the industry use.
You couldn't fault the workshops. They were magnificently equipped. They are working for proper, formal qualifications. They're not just messing about. I would bite their hands off for those workshops in British prisons. I really would. How are you?
That's kind of nice. Okay, that's kind of a good take. She will want like those kinds of workshops in like British prison. Good take. Good take. Every other take she has had so far, terrible take.
Thank you. I'm good. You?
I'm Anne.
Eunice,
Yes.
my name.
Eunice. Hello, Eunice.
Eunice is serving time for drug dealing and attempted murder.
How long have you got to go?
The way she says things, she kind of laugh at it.
Sentence to go.
I have my sentence, my complete sentence is 13 and a half years.
13?
13 and a half years.
Right. Okay.
Yes. I told them I want to go in Halden.
Why?
We are here and we have very lucky. We have many options, so we can take education. This is very important.
There's that too.
I cannot come out from prison with nothing, with just a bag in my hand. Then I'm gonna go back to the same.
So you applied to come here. How long did it take before you came?
3 days.
3 days?
Yes.
That's quick.
Yes.
They must have discharged an awful lot of people.
I was escaped. When my case happened, I escaped. When I make deal with the police to come back, I told them in the deal, I want to go in Ullesmore Halden. They say, okay, when you come back.
That's kind of a vibe. That they were like, yeah, we got you. We'll put you in there. Just come back.
We're gonna fix. That's why I took 3 days.
So
you bargained with the police for where you were going to go to prison.
Yes.
They gave in and said you could come here, and then you came back.
Yes.
I must say, I don't think you would find that happening in the UK, that
I don't think so.
prisoner, an escaped prisoner, would bargain with the police for where he was going to go to prison. Yeah. Right, well, that's a fascinating insight. I can't imagine this happening in the UK. I mean, the public would be scandalised. I mean, I think the...
I mean, anybody that escapes from prison is kind of a vibe. I'm gonna be $1.50. Like, being able to escape from prison is like one of the coolest things ever. I don't particularly care. But yeah, it's kind of cool.
Police's answer in Britain would be the right one is, no, Sonny, you come back and then we'll decide where to send you. Still reeling from Eunice's revelation, there was another shock just round the corner.
Oh, it's what? They're making music?
They're
making music? They're making tracks.
Hello.
How are you?
What's going on here?
We got Jelani doing his thing.
It's this ghastly rap stuff. Which I hate.
You wouldn't have a listen to Norwegian rap?
She doesn't like rap? That's unbelievable. Oh yeah, that's those men are kind of a vibe. The people with cell phones in prisons on TikTok, they're cool. Cool as fuck.
Oh.
Put Jelani på, that's what I heard. This is Norwegian rap for you.
Well, it doesn't matter what sort of rap it is, it's all horrible. Well, I'm all for workshops, but spending money on rap, I'm not sure about.
Når jeg kommer inn, men jeg børster det vekk, for jeg er positiv. Har ikke hørt, har ikke sett, bare gjør min ting. Uansett hva man gjør, får man ende med. Alltid vært en drøm å kunne rappe, for penger blir en rollemodell. Gi barna det de trenger, du må se på deg selv. Før du peker med din finger, er ikke født kriminell, du er født som en vinner.
On a winner.
Right, what do they actually learn here?
Well, Chiminal? Did you say Chiminal Records?
I think they learn to express themselves.
Do they learn this? Do they learn how to handle all this?
Yes, the technical part of it, yes.
These guys are in rehabilitation. I mean, the prison system is in Norway is built on the idea of rehabilitation, and through art you.
Crazy what happens when you see a person's mission to be rehabilitation, not fucking punishment. Crazy.
You can achieve a lot just by learning to express yourself and own your situation, the good things and the bad things. And these guys are writing lyrics about the predicaments that got them here in the first place.
Yeah. I'm absolutely not into rap. And I don't actually regard that as particularly purposeful activity.
Why did they put her in the booth? What is she doing in the booth? Oh my god, it's so funny. You know how they sometimes have like really hot girls like inside of the booth, like in a music video or something like that? That is the opposite of that. I don't know what you would call this, but that's the opposite of it.
8-year-old Jelani is serving 5 years at Holden. I'm sure he won't say what for, so we better stick to chatting about rap. Are they decent?
They are decent.
No swear words.
No swear words.
Oh, I'll go and have
I just had one swear word because, you know...
I can cope with that.
No excuse.
But that...
Swear words? Oh no. Not swear words. No. Why swear words? No. They're the worst thing in the world.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Right. Do a line in Norwegian.
Imagine she gets on the mic and she's actually like insanely good at rapping.
Oh, you're joking.
That means
you're absolutely joking.
Like they look at me when I come in, they look at me and look down. Because you're the boss, right?
Norwegian is the most terrible language.
Gi meg blikk.
Gi meg blikk.
Og se ned.
Og se ned.
Når jeg kommer inn.
Something million.
Når jeg kommer inn. Yes. Gi meg blikk.
Gi meg blikk.
Og se ned.
Og se ned.
Når jeg kommer inn.
Why is this important?
Did I think it had a huge rehabilitative value? Well,
on a more serious note, the British rap scene is kind of insane right now. I don't know if you're like into that. Like they go hard as fuck on like the craziest beats. It's pretty cool.
I would say no, but they would say yes. Well, this is all very nice, but these men are criminals, not pop stars. Where's the punishment?
This is a
No
spa.
punishment. It's not about punishing anybody. Like, what's she not getting yet? Eat my blick. Okay, I mean, I guess.
It's a holiday
I wasn't
resort.
paying that much
It's a
attention.
hotel. Yeah, I would. I mean, I actually think I've had a good time here. I've benefited. I'm not scared of committing any crime, knowing that I can come to a place like this.
Oh my god, the soundtrack goes on.
I'm at Halden Prison in Norway, where inmates appear to live in the lap of luxury. It's a maximum security prison, so I'm shocked to learn that inmates are allowed
Central
visits
C is
from
actually
wives and girlfriends twice.
Not one of my faves. He has a couple of bangers, but not one of my faves. I like more of the, like, I hate to sound like pumps or anything like that, but more of like the underground scene. It's pretty sick.
Twice a week in a private room.
This is the more common visit room that we have.
No window?
No window, because here girlfriends can come.
Just tell me, what is to stop either drugs being passed by the girlfriend or, more importantly, criminal information being passed by the man to the girl? What's to stop that?
Nothing in here. I don't think they pass on so much criminality, because here it's more girlfriend-boyfriend situation.
Oh, right.
We do provide
Towels? Yes.
Sheets and condoms.
Sheets and the necessary.
Yeah.
Right.
And they have...
She's so disgusted by sex. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny seeing somebody be this disgusted by. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But yeah. Of course she's disgusted by sex. I don't know how much she has had in her life, but
have to clean up after themselves after they've been.
Well, I do hope so.
Yeah, we don't do that.
I do hope so.
Yeah.
I can't imagine an easier recipe for exchanges of drugs, exchanges of criminal.
I mean, a lot of people do not understand this, but when you treat people like they're doing something wrong, they will do something wrong. You see this a lot in schools when they have like metal detectors, or they start treating like young people as like criminals and stuff like that. It is way more likely for them to turn out that way. It's psychological. Not psychological, but like a weird way that our minds work. The more we treat it like something, the more we end up being that way. You see that a lot with like parent-child relationships. The more a parent tells a child not to do something, the more likely they actually are to do it. But yeah, it's a commonly known like psychological thing that we as humans do.
Information than a man and his wife, or a man and anybody for that matter, just shut away, unsupervised for hours on end. Linda has been a prison officer for 8 years, and she's seen a lot of different reactions to Halden in her time.
When I hear the criticism that it's very luxurious, well, it's a prison. They are not allowed to go out when they want. They're being told where to go, when to go there by us. But what matters to them is that we treat them nicely, that we talk with them with respect. If there's any luxurious, it's that we're human, and we're showing off humanity to them.
Linda takes me to the prison library, which I've been dying to see. I'm all for broadening prisoners' horizons, but I was appalled at something I discovered there. Prisoners can look up their own crimes, and those of their fellow inmates, in the Norwegian Criminal Chronicles. Dear me.
What's you surprised about this?
Surely they don't think it's a mark of honour to be in here, do they?
Well, some do, I think. To think they open it, they say, this is me. That's what I did.
We don't go quite that far.
No.
Is there anything in the last 8 years that's really alarmed you, that, you thought, I don't like that?
Yeah, I don't like conflicts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a person that don't go into arguments very often.
Yeah.
But I do when I have to, but I don't enjoy it. And I think that's when it gets loud, someone spits at me.
Really?
Because I think I don't deserve that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's really annoying.
That
me the
depresses
most.
you,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
So
It's insane how much this lady's actually amazed by this. Like I said, she understands that the way of British people, in her case, doing the prison system, it's not working. She clearly established that in the beginning. Uh, but it's still weird how condescending she is to a system that has demonstrable data that tells you it's working. And beyond that, the American prison system is like even worse than the British one. Obviously, because they have that labor incentive within prisons, by privatizing them. Um, and like I said, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but in the 14th Amendment, um, it says slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. Again, it just goes to show more of the mentality a lot of Western civilizations have towards crimes, uh, towards crime. That is something that should be punished, not corrected, or re. Oh, I forgot the word again. What is the word again that I keep forgetting? Oh, I forgot the word again. Fuck, whatever. It's not something that could be corrected, or and it's really sad to look at something that clearly works, a system that clearly works, and knowing that it will never be, or like knowing it will not be implemented in America anytime soon. Uh, just like a silly thing. That a lot of American, or at least capitalistic societies don't really seem to care much about. Although it actually affects their bottom line. Uh, but yeah, no, it's a very interesting thing. The prison industrial complex in America. It makes a lot of people a lot rehabilitation. Thank you very much. I cannot remember that word. But yeah, I'm like I said, when you start to make money out of people's freedom, out of taking people's freedom, uh, it doesn't matter. Like, and especially in a capitalistic society, when profit incentive is the most important thing. Uh, you want people to go to prison. You want people to stay there for the longest. So if you have a system that ensures you that most people will be repeat offenders, you will keep that system going for as long as you can because it makes you money. And it's a very easy thing to understand. There's a lot of politicians avoid the topic because of that. Uh, but that does extend to other factions of society, other types of employment. Like I said before, under capitalism, all labor is exploitive. Um, but it's even worse when we're talking about the prison system. But yeah, like I said, this is a very interesting topic to me. Something I want to go more into detail and learn more about in the future. But yeah, I think that's gonna actually be it for the stream today. Um, yeah, again, thank you for watching. All right. Hopefully we can get a few shorts out of this one. Although it was very mellow. It wasn't as crazy as other reactions we have done. Um, we might be looking at the military industrial complex soon too. I want to react to more, maybe more Jordan Peterson, or maybe go into more politics with the right wing and social media. Uh, but for now, this is it for today. And yeah, we go sleeps. All right, we're gonna go sleeps. You guys have a wonderful night or day or whenever you're watching this, and don't do drugs. All right.